All right, just like that, we are back again. More Bullszat games. This one was played back on the 10th of July, so almost exactly a month ago, against Black Agar Boltagon. I've been playing against this guy on and off for the last, God, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. He's been around forever. Plays kind of a mixture of semi-casual, but decently competitive designs. I would definitely put him very firmly in the Johnny category as a player who wants to win, but wants to win on his own terms. And to that end, he's brought Okaun, Eye of Chaos, partnered up with, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, Eye of Wisdom. These two guys pairing up together. They're both coin flip oriented commanders, obviously designed to be paired with each, or I guess, yeah, they actually are intended to be partnered literally with just each other. So they go hand in hand, and boy, do they synergize well, though. Basically, at the beginning of your combat, flip a coin until you lose a flip. Whenever a player wins a coin flip, you double his power and toughness until end of turn. And this guy says, at the beginning of your combat, on your turn, flip a coin until you lose a flip. And whenever a player wins a coin flip, draw a card. So they have the ability to synergize together and just absolutely wall up the opponent. Plus, he's got a lot of other things in the deck, I think, that allow him to do extra flips, reflip, etc. Pretty cool deck, really neat design. And we'll see how it plays out. I would obviously say that Bullszat, by nature of just being more streamlined and more cutthroat and very spiky, is probably favored. But you never know. Crazy things can happen. My hand's solid. I've got a Vampiric Tutor, Fiery Confluence, a little clunky, Sword of Fire and Ice. You can see this card was in the deck until quite recently. Actually, it was cut in the last version, but was still in the deck. And I'm still kind of on the fence about it. Nate insisted that it was pretty clunky, and I can totally understand that in the hyper competitive CEDH games that he plays exclusively, where the game is often won or lost in the first 3 turns. And Sword, generally not going to be interactive there. It tends to really shine by mid-game, giving you some extra reach and removal and card draw and the ability to kill planeswalkers, which is kind of why we were running it. But it definitely does not have the same peak potential that Sword of Feast and Famine does. And one of the biggest weaknesses of this deck, and I think you'll actually see it possibly reflected in cards I draw during this game, maybe actually that was in the, I think that was in the other match, was that tamping down the opponent's hand works well at the beginning, but often your opponent will just get a few land in play, and the most lethal decks and designs in the format are able to kind of just win on 2 mana. So unless you're able to really constrain their hand and either introduce a cost tax to their hand via the statue, the God Pharaoh's statue, or just outright destroy all of their mana with Death Cloud or recursive strip mines or whatever, they can often just kind of stay in the game for a while and claw their way back with a couple tutors or Wheel of Fortune or Time Twister or something, and before you know it, they just combo you out and kill you, which is a very frustrating situation to be in. And the Sword of Feast and Famine really helps stop that from happening by nature of just stripping away every card that they draw and forcing them to play off the top of their deck. So I think the card Sword will definitely be in the deck in perpetuity. Sword of Fire and Ice is cut for now and may eventually find its way back in. But I'm going to keep this hand as it's got more than enough mana to run, and a Vampiric Tutor, of course, and some other decent interactive pieces. I do have to mulligan. I'm going to throw away the card I can't cast, which is the Fiery Confluence. All right, turn 1. I'm just going to run out Rogra here, just since there isn't really any overriding reason to do it. Plus, I do have Sword of Fire and Ice. I guess if I were to tutor for, let's see, yeah, I guess I don't have quite enough mana. If I Vampiric Tutor for Mana Crypt, and I can actually, well, it does give him the ability to actually just attack with a Sword of Creature next turn. I could go, depending on what he did, I could go Blightstep, Chrome Mox, Imprinting, Shattering Speed, play Mana Crypt, and go Sword of Fire and Ice, attack for 2. So that's definitely why I'm gonna be playing Rogra on turn 1 here, in addition to just what it presents as a potential threat. Oh, okay, bad. I guess this is a mountain. All right. Oh boy, Jesus. Soaring Crypt. Well, these guys are a little pricey, but when you have Soaring Crypt on turn 1, they're quite a bit better. And lo and behold, he's got Jeska's Will. Wow, okay, well, that's going to make 5 mana. Well, I guess I'm going to Vampiric Tutor in response just to get my hand size a little smaller. I can take a look at the deck here. I'll point out some other changes between this version and the version that I published. So going down the list here, Cabal Ritual was in the deck for quite a while. I actually suggested cutting it, as we're not really a pure combo deck, and most of the time the card is just mimicking a Lotus Petal that costs 2 to cast, and going from 2 mana to 3 can be impactful, but often not too great. Obviously, Cabal Ritual is amazing by mid-game when you can cast it and get 5 black mana and recur it with Yawgmoth's Will, but you can't do that early, and I decided that card, that limitation did not make the card quite worth it, so it's not in the current list. Going down here, let's see, anything else different? Gorilla Shaman, yeah, this guy's, we were tinkering around with this guy too, just having more ways to interact early on. Unfortunately, Gorilla Shaman costs 3 mana to kill Soul Ring and a lot of the other big offenders. It's amazing if your opponent draws Moxes or obviously Mana Crypt early, but outside of that range, it's just a little bit slow and probably not quite good enough compared to some of the other things that cost 3 that interact with artifacts like Rack and Ruin, Bedevil, and so on. So we eventually cut this guy too. Hypnotic Spectre. Okay, yeah. So this is germane to what I was saying before about needing a steady way to beat their hand down over and over again. So Nate was actually, he went all in on Spectres. He even had the not the Abyssal Spectre. That one is truly abysmal. He had the what is that one called? It's the Haste Spectre. The name eludes me right now. It's pretty old. I think it's from Invasion. 2 generic black and red attack, and your opponent has to discard a card of their choice, but it has haste. And so we had both that Spectre and the Hypnotic. Eventually cut the 4-mana Spectre and eventually cut the Hypnotic as well. So unfortunately we don't get to play it, although it's such a gorgeous card from the past. Moving down here. Yeah, we had already cut Underworld Breach, I think, at this point. Yeah, you can see it's gone from the list. You find some prisoners. I mentioned this in the video. Was in the deck, in and out, in and out, in and out, currently out of the deck. Certainly warrants potential inclusion. I actually quite like the card. It does some really neat and unique things. Interacting with enemy tutors is a really big deal, actually, and you can often just win the game by taking whatever they just cast a Vampiric Tutor for, an Imperial Seal for, a Mystical Tutor for, and casting it yourself. Tome of Legends still in here. Okay, so it's basically, we're getting real close. We're getting real close to the version that I published. It's within 2 to 3 cards, assuming the mana base is the same. In this case, though, question is, what do I get? I will ask you, dear watcher. So I have 4 cards in hand. It's got Crypt and Soul Ring in play. I do have Shattering Spree. I have no red mana, though, at all. 0. And so even if I tutor for a card like, oh, you can see the Vista still in here too. If I tutor for a card like Command Tower or Badlands or something, I can kill one of those, but there's 2 in play, and I really can't afford, assuming he's going to be playing his commander this turn, I really can't afford him playing the other guy right away, because the combination of those 2 guys can potentially draw 3-4 extra cards a turn and just put the game away before I can even really get a foothold in it. So with that in mind, as weak of a play as it seems to be based on the situation, I am going to zero in on this card, Graven Cairns, because I need 2 red. He's got 5. Whew. Fortunately, he didn't get any extra cards off Jessica's Will. This card is just insane, but so much better in Bullszat than it is in most other decks, given the fact that you always have your commander in play when you play it, for the most part. All right, he's partnered. That's sort of scary. Yeah, he even flips on the turn it comes into play, and he wins that flip. All right, all I can do is just try to tamp down the crazy mana production. This allows me to do that. They both are shattered. Yeah, imagine if Okaun had 2 health. That would have been amazing. I could have done that play I described where I attack with Sword of Fire and Ice and just kill his guy. Although I probably would have been reluctant to do that anyway, given the fact I don't want to leave him with Crypt and Soul Ring just sitting in play. Can't do much else. Gonna have to just probably use Sword defensively here to not take too much damage. Luckily, he wins. He misses the coin flip. I only take 3, and he passes back. All right. Skull Clamp's kind of juicy, but not quite there yet. Just going to play the sword here. Use it defensively, as I mentioned. All right, what you up to? 3 mana. Frantic Search. Okay. He throws away Wonder. Ugh, that's terrifying, given the fact that he doesn't have any islands to play right now, but as soon as he hits an island, I'm going to have to be dealing with this thing first striking and flying. I'm sorry, not first striking, but flying and hitting me for potentially 6 or even 12 in a turn, or even just one-shotting me as well if he gets really lucky. So I'm just got to hope he doesn't hit an island at any point. Although he does have to get an island in the graveyard, right? Yeah, I guess I got a little lucky there. He didn't happen to have one in hand and didn't hit one off the Frantic Search. But 3 more mana. Trinket Mage. Well, I've killed the 2 things that guy normally fetches. So that means it's going to be getting Mana Vault. Don't have any way to prevent the big thing from coming down. That land is really helpful, though. So I'm going to just suit up Rogue Ra, even though it means I might take a big hit here. I think it's more important to draw a card and to get Trinket Mage off the board. I really need to draw into some more interaction that can deal with one or both of these planeswalkers. So I'm attacking here, even though I'd like to sit back and not have to worry about taking damage. It just seems way too risky. And plus, time's going to be totally on his side anyway, given the fact that he doesn't even have to attack to start getting these Eye of Wisdom triggers. And yeah, it's just crazy. At the beginning of your combat, on your turn, flip a coin until you lose a flip. Yeah, it's the same for both of them. So if you get lucky and you win 2 to 3 coin flips in a row, it's just crazy. The interaction is just nuts. And sure enough, I get my Gorilla Shaman, which unfortunately does not stop him from being able to use Mana Vault, but it might be helpful a little bit down the road. I'm just going to throw Skull Clamp on him as insurance against removal. Yeah, just to restate that, it wasn't until quite recently. I don't know when the ruling was made, but Skull Clamping commanders didn't used to draw cards up until pretty recently. But they changed the rules and said that commanders actually go to the graveyard momentarily before you decide to put them back in the command zone, which means that it will trigger Skull Clamp. Pretty amazing interaction with Rogue Ra. All right, down comes Vault. He's almost out of cards in hand, but now I got to contend with this combo. All right, now I need to just really get very unlucky, like super, super unlucky. He gets 2 coin flips per attack step here, and he needs to whiff on both. So first coin flip, a miss. All right, that one hits. Yikes, God, so scary. Okay, he misses that one. So he missed 2 out of 3. I got very lucky. That literally could have just been lethal right there. If he won 2 more coin flips, dead out of double chances. Pretty nuts. All right, I take 6. Whew. All right, that was one opening there. I really have to draw some removal here. I'm going to die. Oh, Kolaghan's Command, so fantastic. All right, so I have choices here. I could just run out. I could run out Tevesh Zad and make 2 tokens, which would shore up the battlefield here. But I ultimately decide that is way too risky. If he has a way of getting an island into the graveyard via something like, not Frantic Search, but one of the many, many red cards that filter your hand into the graveyard, I could just outright die. Plus, it doesn't disrupt the engine. And the engine is the real danger here, too. It's not just the creature damage. So with that in mind, as much as I would love to run out my commander, my top priority is just getting Okaun off the board. I'm going to attack here, see what I draw first. And that allows me to deal 2 damage to Okaun. All right, I get Ad Nauseam. Well, normally I'd be overjoyed to draw that, but it's certainly not great at 26 life. I'm about to tap 3 mana, and then I think better of it. And I decide to just... Hang on a minute here. We'll figure this out. Okay, I'm going to imprint the Ad Nauseam. I ultimately decide I can just afford to do that. Yeah, I can play the Gorilla Shaman as well, which is kind of nice off the filter thing. It may not have been correct to actually play Gorilla Shaman that turn, given the fact that I can play him and break the Mana Vault. And it's very likely, given the way this guy's deck functions, particularly after I kill off his commander and make it cost 7, that he will untap, invest his entire turn untapping Mana Vault, and then I can just play Gorilla Shaman and kill it. But I kind of decided that I wanted to just draw cards through the Gorilla Shaman and see what I get, given that it seemed a little bit speculative and reactive. Plus, I just have so many powerful cards that I can draw into more stuff that kills Mana Vault another way. And this still allows me to make this Kolaghan's Command play. And that's right, too. Yeah, I wanted to get a second use out of the... hang on, pause. I wanted to get a second use out of the Kolaghan's Command. Ultimately decided that making him discard a random card was probably not as good as regrowing the Shaman, since that draws me 2 and then draws me 2 on the backside too, and gives him the ability to kill the Mana Vault if I want to, and compels him to not untap the Mana Vault. So that was clearly the reason why I made that play before I was planning on clamping the Shaman. All right, so he gets the flip. He misses again. Extremely fortunate. Alrighty. All right, suddenly I'm starting to feel a lot more confident about this situation, the state of the game. All right, so he's got a Cascade Bluffs here as his only source of blue mana. It does enable double blue, but I kind of decide that I'm just going to run out the sword here, see what happens. It resolves, which is a little astonishing, to be honest. So clearly I read him for no counter magic. This allows me to attack, generate 4 mana, draw a card, force a discard. Just insane swing. He drops Arcane Signet into the graveyard. Wow, why did he not play that? I'm trying to figure out what that means. Could it mean that he has a 4 mana counterspell and I get to draw another land too? It's so great. All right, well, I feel that the coast is certainly clear here, so I'm going to play a land. And rather than just mind twisting to soften up his hand, I decided to just play Liliana. And I'm doing this because I want him to just sack off his other commander and get rid of it. Obviously, it's not the most ideal use for the card, and this thing isn't all that threatening, although it still has this crazy RNG element of just getting lucky and winning, you know, getting the 1 and 8 and drawing 3 cards for free. To rein that in as a potential outcome, I decided to just play Liliana and make him discard it. And then I'm utterly shocked to see him play a 4-mana counterspell. He has foil in his hand. Wow, okay. I cannot believe he let Sword of Feast and Famine resolve, but that's fine. All right, gonna go get Badlands. I'm just gonna play Gorilla. And yeah, I'm gonna clamp it here. This definitely compels him to untap Mana Vault, but as you've seen in other games, we have a million artifact kill spells in this deck, and you can pretty dependably go and just draw your way into more of them. Plus, this also might compel him to spend his entire turn untapping Mana Vault, which he has to do during upkeep, and that buys me an entire turn to hit him with Sword. And of course, I can just mind twist away the cards anyway. So, unfortunately, I just draw 2 land. Not really the end of the world. And lo and behold, look at this. It works. He untaps. Oh, wait, he thinks about it? Okay, there he goes. Oh, he just decides to pass this turn. Spellseeker. Okay. And he gets Vandal Blast. Oh, that's not very nice. Question is, does he use it right now? If I was in his position, I might be really tempted to just kill the Sword of Fire and Ice right here. And I talked before also about how much better Shattering Spree can be than Vandal Blast. Vandal Blast obviously doesn't target, can destroy an entire battlefield's worth of artifacts for a pretty efficient cost. But Shattering Spree's flexibility, the ability to kill 2 artifacts on turn 2, as I did this game, generally makes it a better card than Vandal Blast, actually. And I think it's, considering how frequently Vandal Blast is played versus Shattering Spree, it's pretty shocking that it's that disproportionate. Although, of course, you do need a pretty big red element to really lean into the card. He's got like 5 red mana sources in play, so it would be certainly better in his deck than in mine. We actually don't run a huge amount of red mana, but enough to cast Shattering Spree reliably for at least 2 to 3, and that's usually decisive. All right, so he flips. God, he misses again. I've gotten so lucky. I think he's missed 4 out of 5 flips, which is pretty catastrophic. Bonk. Okay, here we go. Oh, more land. All right, well, that's not the end of the world here. I can attack and draw at least. So first thing I'm going to do is just Mind Twist for 1 here. I know he has Vandal Blast in his hand, and of course I could Mind Twist for 2, but he can't block anyway. I know at least what one of the cards is. So I take Gamble out of his hand. This is just more efficient, and of course I need to get the Vandal Blast out of his hand. Can't let that resolve. I'm going to cast Tevesh Zat. Attack first. Strips away cards and draws me a card. And then ultimately I could have sacked Rogra and drawn 3, but I don't really feel a ton of pressure anymore, and I kind of wanted to keep the creature in play with its double swords. And of course, once you have Tevesh Zat running with Skull Clamp anyway, you can just draw 4 indiscriminately. So it's probably just more efficient regardless. Draw 2, I get Deadly Rollick. I'm just going to nuke that guy right away, since that shuts off his free commander spells, and there's no reason to leave it in play at all. Clamp again, get Dark Confidant, useless Cabal Ritual. You can just sort of see why the card is not. I mean, even this is Cabal Ritual at its best now. It's making 5 black mana for just 2, given the fact that I have Threshold, but who cares, right? I've got a million mana in play anyway, and early it's just not that strong, and that's one of the reasons why we removed it. All right, Dark Confidant comes down, and I'm confident enough that I have 22 life, and I don't need to clamp it or anything. He's going to go for the untapped Mana Vault Desperation play, which very unlikely to work out for him. Plus, it means that he just misses his entire turn, and I get to strip another card away. All right, Confidant reveals Wooded Foothills and a Wasteland. That'll cut off the Cascade Bluffs and drop them away from getting double blue. I'm just going to make 2 more Thralls and clamp away. Man, this is just so decadent once this gets running. More mana. I think I might have been running a little bit more land in the deck too. I didn't count, but I think I might have had 31 or 32 before the Shadow Skull smashing. We've gradually paired lands out of the deck as it was so mana heavy. Draw 2 more. Speak of the devil. Wow, that's the last 6 draws are all lands. Actually, I guess Cabal Ritual is technically mana too. Play Mana Vaults. Just keep this going. Equip there. Equip the sword over here. I'm just doing this to protect Dark Confidant, as it's obviously way more valuable than Rogra. More mana. All of it. All of it. I'm going to clamp him, I guess, just to draw more, 2 more mana sources. Awesome. And it's quite okay. Play Springleaf Drum, smash in for a total of 8 damage. Drawing another card, and I get Winter Orb. I just clamp up my little buddy again there. 2 more land. It's kind of hilarious. Oh, I'm Cabal Ritualing. This is like seriously high stepping here. Just replaying Okaun, clamping him again. Okay, Duretti. I drew something that does something. That's kind of awesome. All right, play Duretti, make a token, strip mine a land, play Winter Orb. Yeah, I mean, this is like absolutely checkmate at this point. He's got 1 mana source. He's gonna hang on gamely for another turn because he's a totally awesome dude, and we exchanged some nice words both before and during the game, and he's just being a good sport. But of course, he's just completely out of this one now. I've got Winter Orb plus Sword of Feast, Famine, Dark Confidant, crazy card draw by Force and Liquid Metal Torque to go with the Duretti. And I'm gonna clamp, get Demonic Tutor. All right, let's just make some more thralls here too and clamp those. Yeah, none of this even really matters, but I actually run the math here, and it seems like it works out. If I attack first, I can hit for 8. Takes him down to just 9. It's not every day you do this, but might as well, right? He's got no cards in hand, and it's fun to just end the game with your opponent having no permanents in play, were he to sack them. Death Cloud for 9 is death. And that's the end of the game, and once again, Bullszat doing its thing, crushing an early mana draw. And just showcasing all of the basic mechanics in the deck. It's funny how we run so much artifact kill in this deck, but at the end of the day, that's kind of really your objective. You're playing the containment strategy. You're playing a mixture of containment and hyper acceleration. And if the hyper acceleration component of the deck doesn't fail or it's blunted, you always have the disruption and the artifact destruction to fall back on. And often that is enough to easily win the game, particularly backed up by the extra land destruction, Winter Orb, and Death Cloud, and the Planeswalkers and stuff. So you can see all the synergies in the deck running. It's closing in on the version that I published, and clearly already incredibly effective. In fact, I don't think I've actually lost any games online since I adjusted to at least this version. So I haven't lost any games in the last month or so. Granted, I haven't been playing a ton, and I haven't been playing specifically EDH games like Nate, but the deck is just showing is really showcasing its muscle and how exceptional it is as a design. I'm sure you'll find the same thing when you give it a shot if you do, and stay tuned for more games. Thanks.